Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share my full review, the digitally digested segment, for the Sony CyberShot DSC QX100. Now this is a lens camera priced at $499.99 that aims to replace the smartphone camera you already depend on. So for those of you that are in love with being able to instantly shoot and share from your smartphone, all of that convenience, Sony wants to be able to give you an opportunity to upgrade. And by upgrade, I mean they've built into this $500 lens camera the exact same sensor and lens combination that they have already put out in their RX100 Mark II, which is what I'm focused on right now using my Galaxy S3, which is paired up with the QX100 using NFC, which will instantly turn on the QX100 device. This applies to both the QX10 and 100 that I'm demoing here. And after powering it up, it will also launch the Play Memory app. And the Play Memory app will then give you access and control to the QX of choice that you're using. So as you can see, the interface relatively simple. Sony really wants to provide you with the same experience you're already accustomed to, but just enhance it. So you've got on-screen touch to focus. You also have, of course, a shutter button. The touch to focus not working there simply because I think I'm too close to my subject, but I could be wrong. There we go. Just focused right there. And, that's part of the process on this that I think will become refined, this entire software experience that I'm about to demo and share with all of you. This is something that Sony can update and work on. But because it is part of the CyberShot family, I don't have incredibly high expectations that Sony will further develop this rather than just come out with a next generation of it. So as far as controls, I just showed all of you that you can touch to focus, very similar to your smartphone, but you do actually have a zoom here. And as you can see, I'm zooming in on the RX100 Mark II, trying to bring it into focus. And the zoom on here is really impressive because we are working with the exact same Carl Zeiss f1.8 3.6 times lens that you'll find on the RX100 and RX100 Mark II. So really a nice lens sensor pairing here. Probably the best you're going to find in a pocketable point-and-shoot camera, the one we're focused on right now, right there, the Mark II or Mark I. And the first thing I want to make clear as I'm demoing this really cool product that certainly isn't for everyone, but I think plenty of you are excited to pick up, maybe you already have, is that this is not a replacement for those of you who are really interested in a dedicated camera. That is to be said without hesitation. If you really want a dedicated point and shoot, that's what you should be buying. The RX100 Mark I or Mark II are incredible values, even though they are very expensive, because they deliver almost digital SLR-like quality in a pocketable form factor. Video quality also really best in class. So that's what you're getting with the RX100 or Mark II. So I don't like the comparison. I've already done a video on comparing the products since they are so close in price point. Again, this is $500, the RX100 Mark II, $750, but the Mark I is $600 retail now. And of course it will go on sale and probably get close to the same price point as the QX. 100. So they're going to draw even more comparisons, but they really shouldn't, because this is a lifestyle device. This is not a true camera, in my opinion. Of course, it delivers quality better than most point-and-shoot cameras on the market. Really, the only cameras it doesn't outperform are the RX100 and Mark II, in my opinion, and that's because of this sensor and lens pairing. Again, you're getting all of the benefit of that combination. However, Sony's made sure to remind you that this isn't a standalone camera, and that's not just because it's missing a viewfinder or LCD screen. Again, you will need to use a smartphone or tablet to actually have a live view. That live view does come with some lag, and that is to be expected. It does perform really well in my experience. You can see I'm moving it right now. Very little breakup there. My finger in real time, also very little breakup. It's almost as fluid as what you'd find on a true live view on something like the RX 100 Mark II we have in focus. However, it simply isn't the same. So that has to be said. If you're looking for a true camera experience, this isn't going to deliver. But again, I don't think Sony is targeting someone, an enthusiast especially, that's in the market for a real camera. This is a lifestyle device. This is for those of you that love the convenience of being able to shoot and share with your phone or tablet, but you want quality that rivals digital SLR, and that is what that sensor and lens that I keep talking about end up producing. So of course you can take an image. Because I'm in the intelligent, by the way, in terms of modes, I want to point out modes I'm going to show you right now. It'll show you what you just shot, and you can actually zoom in. Again, a great example of the quality. This is only a 2 megapixel reviewable JPEG that has been sent from the QX100 to the smartphone. You can also save directly to a micro SD card on board on the QX10 or 100. No RAW mode here, but you have plenty of different options when it comes to megapixel count and formatting. But again, the quality is just incredible, and that's what you're paying for here for $500. Even though you're not going to get RAW, and on the video side of things, you're also going to be limited. You're only going to get 1440 by 1080i in MP4, so no AVC HD, none of the 1080p, 60p, 60i, 24p, really high quality video that the RX 100 Mark II or even Mark I, even though it is missing some of the video features, is capable of. You're not going to be able to leverage that. You're still going to get, again, some of the best video and still capability, especially low light capability, that you're going to ever find in something as convenient and as seamless when it comes to smartphone compatibility, not only in terms of software for Android and iOS using Sony's Play Memories app, which is what we've been in this whole time, but also the brackets here really do accommodate just about everything other than the Galaxy Note 2 and up. The Galaxy Note 2 will physically fit, but it's just about impossible to get out. You have to slide it out. I've already done a demo video on that. Take a look if you're curious. I don't recommend using the Galaxy Note 2 or anything larger with this, at least mounted, of course. It will function off-mount just as a wireless camera, but otherwise, it's just not a practical experience. As far as actual shooting modes, which is what I was talking about before I went off topic there a little bit, you've got Intelligent Auto, Superior Auto, which we were in. That's why a series of photos were taken in order to basically achieve the best possible image under the Superior Auto algorithm. And then you've got Program Auto and Aperture Priority. So you're missing all of those manual settings that you would traditionally have access to with something, again, like the RX 100 or Mark II right there on the mode dial. So, you know, where you would traditionally be able to have the niceties of something closer to a digital SLR experience in a pocketable camera. After all, a $750 camera that's pocketable should try to deliver on those fronts. Here, again, you are being limited in your control capabilities. But, you know, if you do choose to actually get manual, you can see there they are on screen. You've got exposure, so aperture, they're there. That's nice, but Sony could definitely do a lot more with this. That's just a letdown. Again, they're hedging on the fact that most people that are buying this to upgrade their smartphone camera really aren't going to care about all of these little details. In fact, they're betting you only upgrade your smartphone to get better camera capability, in a sense. Again, this is a lifestyle product, not a traditional camera replacement or pocketable point and shoot of any kind, because even though it can work on its own and doesn't require having a smartphone or tablet as a viewfinder, there is no video record button on the body of this device. You've got a physical power button with an LED, of course, to indicate that it's powered on. This will also tell you whether or not the device is charging. Then we've got on the left side our physical shutter button, which is clearly far more natural to use because you'll actually be holding the lens like this. So far more natural to use than the on-screen button on your smartphone. So that's another deviation from that smartphone camera shooting experience that you're used to. Even though Sony wants to keep it seamless, they are taking into account that they've got to give you another option in terms of ergonomics. And then your zoom rocker is right here, which works, you know, fairly well. as it should. No clear image zoom, no digital zoom. Again, this is the compromise that is the QX lineup. If you go with the QX10, smaller sensor, 10 times zoom, but you're not going to have this image or video quality. The QX10, though, is arguably smaller and less expensive, which in many ways makes it, in my opinion, the smarter choice for the average consumer looking to upgrade the camera on their smartphone. The QX100 really is for the person who wants the best possible quality and they don't care about price point. That really describes that user best, in my opinion. In terms of settings, not many here. I mean, I've already shown these in the demo. Self-timer, white balance control, your focus mode, your still image actual size selection. You know, you can go for that full 20 megapixels or take it down. So these are all nice to have. I should have just gone back there. You also have your review image. Clearly, keeping it on is going to really slow this device down. If I start talking about the speed of this device, how quickly you can use it when comparing it to a camera, a standalone camera that is, that's another area that this thing fails miserably. So that's why I really don't think it's an appropriate comparison to make this, speaking of this device, with the RX 100 or Mark II, because when it comes to just taking out a camera and shooting, that's not what the QX is all about. Yes, it is about convenience. It is about living or coexisting with your smartphone and allowing you to shoot and share in a way that has never been accommodated before. But for a purist who's looking to make sure they don't miss their shot, making sure that live view, what they see is what they get, that's not what the QX delivers, at least not all the time. Or in its purest form, that's what gets in its own way, really, essentially. Also, the size of the image that is shared with your device. You can go with either 2 megapixels or the original. The original takes a little bit longer because it is a larger file. They do not allow you to transfer video from this interface. You have to actually do a complete copy over from the card that is on the QX model, which is pretty seamless. That's another nice convenience that you won't find even with the updated NEX smart remote control app. No way to transfer everything on board to an Android or iOS device. So that's another little cool feature that's built in only to the QX line, specific to the QX. And then, of course, the beep, which will indicate the connection to your device when it actually pairs up, let's say using NFC to launch Play Memories. So that's pretty much what it comes down to in options. You can also, of course, hit play, which will direct you to the Play Memory subfolder within your gallery. In terms of mode, you can, of course, jump to movie mode, but there is actually literally nothing you can do here in terms of settings. That's where copy from connected device populates, but that's it. Focus mode, and there you have it. So nothing else here can be tweaked. A very simple application in terms of its functionality, really all about just allowing you to take pictures and video on the fly. This is really designed for someone who's going to depend exclusively on the auto modes, someone who is not interested in manual, does not care about the omission of RAW. I don't see Sony adding RAW capability to this in the future, simply because, again, maybe they'll reserve that for the next version. But CyberShot cameras in general do not get many updates. It's a rarity, so I don't expect to see them do much except update what the application can do. How much they'll give up in terms of features, I don't know. You do not have a built-in flash here. Again, it only takes micro SD cards. There is an actual LED readout on the right side. You can see right there, which shows your battery life for the QX, which is rated at 220 shots. I have averaged roughly that, a little over 200. You also have a battery meter, a SD card slot indicator to let you know whether or not there is a micro SD card on board. You can see right now I do not have one. That's why we've got a card with a line through it. So all of my images are being saved to the phone presently. That's the way I have it set up. And the only other thing on body that is really significant is the tripod mount, because again, this is a wireless device. It doesn't actually need to be mounted Those of you who have larger phones that can't accommodate it certainly can still use it. I can see this being a great creative tool. I think that's another selling point, a camera that really can go anywhere. Right here, we've got the actual door to the micro SD card slot, as well as micro USB port for charging and transfer. So both of those located right here alongside the physical shutter button. That pretty much covers the physical body. You can use the zoom ring, much like on the RX 100 and Mark II, so that's another nice thing if you're looking for manual controls. But the physical handling is a bit of an issue, there's no question about it. Depending on what smartphone you own, you're going to have to worry about where your power button is or where your volume rocker is. Of course, no phone is exactly the same. They all share design cues, but that's going to end up determining where the QX100 actually sits on your phone, which will then also in turn basically either make you happy or sad with the weight balance distribution. I think you see where I'm going with this. Every phone is going to yield a different experience for every user. But the way you're supposed to use it is holding it again by the actual lens, and basically the way I am right now. Again, allowing you to shoot. I can't shoot a video there. I have to go back to still. I have no card on board in the QX, but allowing you to shoot a still on screen like that, or of course with the shutter. And if I did not have the copy feature on, I could just, or review I should say, I could just keep on shooting. But this is not a camera for someone who's worried about missing the shot because of speed. That I want to make really clear. That's not who this is for. You should be buying a dedicated camera. But check this out. If you do want the best possible quality, Sony is delivering that for your smartphone. I mean, the shot I just took here, it's not raw, but this 20 megapixel still, look at how it's resolving the Carl Zeiss logo on the lens. I mean, that's really impressive. And that's where Sony, they do get credit. They do get the pat on the back. This isn't just a proof of concept. This is a revolutionary device. The question is adoption. You know, how many users are in love enough with the experience of sharing all of, the things they shoot on their smartphone and caring enough about the quality and wanting to take it to the next level that they'll want a device like this rather than a traditional point-and-shoot camera. In terms of when you get a call or a text, of course it's an inconvenience to have something like this mounted and to have to remove it. And I mentioned battery life of the QX100 being roughly 200 shots and change. Well, it's going to take battery away from your smartphone or tablet, especially if you're going to crank up the screen brightness. You've got a Wi-Fi direct connection going, which really doesn't hit the battery too much on the smartphone, at least in my experience. It's not a heavy drain. NFC also has to be on if you want that pairing process to go on, but again, that's not any real toll on battery life. So it all comes down to screen brightness. And if you're out there in bright conditions, you're going to need your smartphone to have everything it's got behind the brightness function, because that's the biggest competition for actually using your smartphone or tablet for framing. And that's where battery life on your smartphone will become a problem. So that's one of the other issues besides handling and taking calls, texting, that make this less seamless than I think most of us would care for. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that it really does accomplish its goal, which is replacing your camera on your smartphone and taking it to, as I've mentioned, almost digital SLR, at least entry-level digital SLR quality, without having to bring along even a true standalone camera. So for many of you, that in itself is the selling point. I mean, amazing stills, amazing video, $500, and you don't have to carry around a camera, at least technically. In terms of startup time, that's another thing I want to demonstrate since we've already seen how the app works. But this again speaks to the difference between having a dedicated camera and something that isn't. So I'm going to just power these up simultaneously so you can all see what startup time is like. So keep in mind that even though I've powered up the QX100, which was significantly slower, we're not necessarily paired up with the app yet. If I had actually done an NFC tap, yeah, that would be the power up time. And then probably within another 2 seconds, you'd be ready to shoot. But you can see the translation also even in power down. I didn't get it there, but I'll do it again. It's not as significant as the power up time. Here we go. Actually, almost exactly the same. So I've only noticed a little bit of an advantage to the RX 100 and Mark II when it comes to powering down. Of course, powering down not as important as powering up, but nobody likes a delay on powering down. Those are those little things that would annoy anyone, whether you are an enthusiast or someone who's just casual looking to upgrade their camera on their smartphone. So all of these things, what do they add up? Well, they add up to that if you are a casual user who has maybe found a hobby in photography because of your smartphone, you love sharing your photos on Facebook and Instagram, but you don't want to keep buying a new smartphone every year, specifically for that bump up in a few megapixels, and you don't find yourself willing to purchase a standalone point-and-shoot camera because of that built-in smartphone that you buy every year with your new built-in camera that you buy every year with your new smartphone, Sony's telling you you don't need to keep bumping up all of those other specifications you don't really care about. So whether it's, the latest and greatest processor or GPU so that your smartphone or tablet can game and do everything else incredibly fast, maybe you're perfectly happy with the performance of your current phone, whether it's last gen, current gen, or even 2 years old. Sony's telling you you can still take your photographic and video needs to a whole new level. And I think that is the exact demographic that this is designed for. I think they're also the exact demographic that's going to be able to live with all of the shortcomings of this device. The fact that you don't get true 1080p capture, you only get that 1440 by 1080 in MP4, which is, of course, again, designed for sharing. The reason there's no RAW here is that there's no mobile support for RAW yet in the marketplace. Will that day come? Possibly. But right now, the file size difference really makes it basically a no-go for Wi-Fi connectivity. It can happen, it's just not feasible. By feasible, I mean it's not practical. It's not something you're going to want to wait on. So that's why Sony doesn't build it in there for you to complain about. I think, though, they should have still included a video capture button on board, as I mentioned earlier, because if you run out of juice on your smartphone and you're willing to just take shots randomly and hope that you get what you're looking to in focus, why not also have a video button? Just doesn't make any sense. Of course, the microphone array is right there at the top. You can check out my video samples to see what the quality is like. It's on par with what you'll get out of point-and-shoots like the Mark I and Mark II. And that's really, again, the appeal. So if you don't care about the lower video quality mode, lack of RAW, and lack of manual controls, most importantly, but if you don't care about one of those things, you probably don't care about any of them. And your chief goal, again, is just really to turn your smartphone into almost a digital SLR. That's exactly what this QX100 does. And at $500, I expect nothing less. The biggest pitfalls aren't even the things that I've mentioned about performance in terms of video or still quality. It's really more about the lack of manual controls, but even less so, or more so, I should say, about practicality and whether or not you're going to be able to get used to the handling, mounting it on and off of your smartphone all the time. Those are the things you have to be willing to live with more so than the limitations Sony has put on this incredible sensor and lens combo. That's the bottom line with the QX100. So battery life, still video, all stellar, and they should be at $500. But if you're considering the RX 100 or Mark II, by all means, take the plunge. You won't be disappointed that you did. But Sony knows that there are those of you out there who do not want to carry a real camera, a true another device to charge. And since this does charge via micro USB, even though the RX 100 Mark II does as well, again, it seems like a seamless activity. The question really is, with all of this convenience, how convenient is the QX100 to you personally, really? And that'll determine whether you love or hate this product. But as I've mentioned over and over, the lens and sensor really do end up yielding great results, even though they've been throttled down from what you find in the full point-and-shoot format RX100 and Mark II. Again, QX100, a great product, a revolutionary one, but it does get in the way of itself a little bit simply because of its dependency on that convenience in that relationship that I keep mentioning. And for me personally, there's no question I will pick a real camera every day of the week, but I'm not really the demographic that Sony's after here. It's the ones that I've mentioned through the course of this video. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.